I'm Anthony Matarese Jr. from Pennsville, New Jersey. I'm a professional sporting clay shooter and range owner. Today I'm here to provide you with some understanding of safety. We're going to cover a lot of variables with safety. First, we're going to start off with ear and eye protection. The rules on every range is that you must have ear and eye protection to be out there shooting or spectating. In terms of ear protection, we could use something as simple as a foam earplug that is rolled up and easily put into your ear. Or we can go as far as using a full muff that goes over top of your ears to protect your ears even a little bit further. If a foam plug is used correctly, it works beautifully. That's what I actually personally use. When we get into eye protection, we're looking at something that's going to have some protection. Regular reading glasses aren't really providing the protection that we would like. If that's what you had, it would be better than nothing. Same thing as goes with sunglasses. That would be better than nothing, but we really want proper shooting glasses. Most ranges have those available. They're there at the counter. They can give those out to you. You can invest in really expensive glasses, or you can invest in something that just protecting your eyes. At any rate, we're here today to talk about safety. There's a lot of options out there. Do some research, talk to the range, ask what they require in regards to ear and eye protection. Whether you're a shooter or a spectator, ear and eye protection are mandatory on all ranges. Let's make sure you have the proper equipment. We have a lot of options available for you, whether it's the most expensive or the cheapest or something you pick up right at the range on your way out the door. Let's make sure you're wearing that, and let's have a safe day out on the range protecting our ears and eyes. The next thing we're going to get into talking about is ammunition. Regarding safety and ammunition, the most important thing to recognize is we have to make sure that we properly match the gauge of the shotgun and the gauge of the ammunition that we have. A 20 gauge shotgun shell could possibly fit inside of a 12 gauge shotgun. Could present problems because it could get lodged in the barrel and cause an explosion. When you're out shooting, make sure you only have the gauge shotgun and gauge shell that you're using. If your friend is using a different gauge, you want to make sure his ammo is kept separate, kept in a different bag, and never entered into your shooting pouch or shooting pocket on your vest. Luckily, to make our job easier, the 20 gauge shotgun shell is always yellow. Across all manufacturers, it's yellow. If you see a yellow shell and you happen to be out there shooting a 12 gauge shotgun or any other gauge, we need to make sure that we remove that, get it out of your bag, out of your pocket, and make sure that if your friend is using a 20 gauge, his ammo is kept separate. But you're looking for that yellow color for the 20 gauge compared to the 12 gauge. When we get into some other gauges, such as a 410, a 28 gauge, these are both smaller than a 20 and a 12. The 410, though, would slide right down the barrel if you happen to put it in by accident. Safety is our utmost importance. Let's make sure we have the proper gauge matched with the proper shotgun. And if you're out there on the range and people are using different gauges around you, take it upon yourself to make sure your ammunition is matched properly with your shotgun. We're going to talk to you for a moment about the different types of guns. One of the very most common is an over and under shotgun. Over and under shotgun, as we break the gun open, we can see that we have two barrels. Shell can go in the top and the bottom barrel. When we look at this gun and we take it out on the range and we carry it, safe way to carry it is over your shoulder here, so that if we see as we're carrying the gun and walking around the range, the gun is broke open and pointed down, not at anyone. When we take the gun out of the rack, one thing that's always important is we want to make sure that we open and close the gun so we don't have it pointed at anyone. On the over and under shotgun, we must always have the action open when we're out on the range. The only time the action is closed is either if it's in the gun rack or if you're in the cage ready to shoot. If we take a look at how we get the gun out of the rack again, let's view something. If we close the gun, we put it in. Soon as we come up to the gun rack and pick that gun up, we want to make sure that we break it open. We turn and point away from people. So there's no one, you're not opening the gun pointed at anyone. You turn away from people, open the gun, so now you turn back. So if you're facing your shooting friends, you want to turn away to open the gun because you have to lower it, turn back in front of them. So over and under shotgun must always be kept open. We want to check the barrels. We'll make sure everything is clear. We have the gun over our shoulder. We can carry it over our arm. And we're going to proceed through the range, and we make sure the barrel's never pointing at anyone. The next shotgun we're going to look at is called a side-by-side. In sporting clays, it's not that common. You might not see it that often out on a sporting clay range or out on a skeet or trap range, but it is something commonly used in hunting. You'll see folks out on a clay range using their hunting gun occasionally, so we want to go through this with you. Like the over and under shotgun, we're going to carry it the same way. Over the shoulder, over the arm. We want to make sure we're in a safe direction. We're going to open and close the gun to put it in the rack or to get it in and out of your golf cart if you're using a golf cart in the same way that we described. Turn away from the group, close the gun, then put it in the rack. We do not want to close the gun towards people, then put it in the rack. So again, we'd open it up, we'd get out of our golf cart or get the gun out of the rack. We turn away, we open it, we'll carry it through the range over our shoulders, over the top. We want to make sure the barrel is always pointed in a safe direction. When we're out on the range, remember, always treat the gun as if it was loaded, okay? Even if you know that this gun is unloaded, assume that it's loaded. You're never pointing at anyone just because that you think it's unloaded. When we go to put it back in the rack, we turn away, close the gun, drop it in. Very common shotgun used across the United States in sporting clay shooting, skeet and trap shooting. It's something that's used by a lot of hunters, recreational shooters, the semi-automatic shotgun. Semi-automatic shotgun is potentially, if not used correctly, slightly more dangerous than the over and under or the side-by-side. Right now, we can easily see that the action is open. If we push the button, the action is closed. We have no ammunition in there, but we cannot tell that. Okay, you cannot walk around the range with the action closed. The gun is always unloaded and always empty until you step into the box. This is not a permissible way to carry the gun at any point on the sporting clay range. Every one of these guns has a button on there somewhere that opens that up. Occasionally you might hit the button by accident. Open it up quickly, get the action open. As we carry the semi-automatic shotgun around the range, one common way is just like this, straight up, okay? We can't carry it over our shoulder like we did the over and under shotgun because it would be pointing at someone. It doesn't break in half. We could turn sideways again and lower the gun and point it down at the ground, okay? Pointing it down at the ground is fine as long as you don't carry it at an angle that points at someone walking in front of you. You could carry it straight down. We know the action's open. Turn away, carry it straight up, okay? Again, action open, never pointing at anyone. Pointing the gun down at the ground is fine. If you happen to bump the ground while you're walking around with your shotgun, always check the barrel. So make sure the action is open, and then you would view down to make sure there's no obstruction in the barrel. Probably the shotgun that you see a lot of hunters take out to the range occasionally in the United States would be a pump shotgun. Pump shotgun, like the semi-automatic, has the action where if it's closed, we could not quite understand if the gun is loaded or unloaded. We're going to demonstrate that. When we pick this gun up, the action is open. We know it's empty. There's no way the gun can go off if the action is open. If we close the action, even though we have not put any ammunition into the gun, there's no way for us to know right now that it's unloaded. Often you'll see someone on the range and I'll tell them, open their action up, and they might respond, well, the gun's not loaded. Okay, that we don't care if it's loaded or unloaded. The action is always open. The only time the action is closed is when you're stepping into that box and loading the gun to shoot. When you step out and you're not on the shooting pad, the action must always be open. So all these guns have a button on the side that allows that to be open. Like the semi-automatic, when we carry the gun, we're going to carry it the same way. We could carry it straight up. If we want to carry it down, we turn away from the group, point towards the ground, and we'd hold it here. Again, be careful of the angle of which you're carrying the gun. You don't want to point it out in front too far because you could be pointed at someone walking towards you. And you don't want to carry too low to the ground where you could hit the barrel on the ground. If you did happen to hit the barrel on the ground, again, always check the barrel, make sure it's clear. So the pump shotgun, we want to make sure in all of these guns, the semi-automatic and the pump, you're out on a clay shooting range, you never load more than 2 cartridges. We'll see a lot of hunters fill the gun up with ammo because the gun holds 3 or 5 shots. You're never shooting more than 2 shots on a sporting clay range or skeet or trap range. Trap shooting, most often you're shooting 1 shot, so you're going to load 1 shot. If you're shooting a double, you'll load 2. You never load more shells than you're going to shoot on the call of pull. We do not want to have more shells in there, and it's against the rules on most ranges. Let's take a look of how we, again, put the gun into the rack. We turn. We know the action's open. We place it into the rack. And again, if we're getting any of these guns out, putting them on our golf cart, putting them into the gun rack, we always turn away from the crowd or turn away from the people to get them open, so that as we level that gun out, again, even back to the over and under, we want to turn to the side to get that gun open before we turn back to walk towards our shooting partners. With shotguns, familiarize yourself with the type of shotgun that you're using. Familiarize yourself with all shotguns in general if you happen to be around someone who's using a different type of shotgun. Quite often you could have a guy who comes out to do some clay shooting who hasn't done much, and he brings a pump shotgun. If he has that action closed, or the guy with the semi-automatic has that action closed, it's your responsibility for your own safety and the safety of others out there on the range to make sure that everyone has the actions open, the guns are pointed in a safe direction. Most people out on the range, they want to do everything the best that they can and be as safe as possible. It's your job to educate someone who's not 100% safe and simply doesn't know the proper procedures for carrying out safety on the range. We're going to go through a few common things that are often out on the sporting clay range, skeet or trap range even, overlooked and not necessarily talked about as much as they should be. Regarding ammunition, we've talked about the different gauges. We're going to talk about the different sizes of shot and power of shotgun shells. We want to be using a 2 3/4 inch shotgun shell when we're shooting clay targets. Hunting loads are available in 3 inch, 3.5 inch. We're not going to be using any of that out on the clay target range. So we need a 2 3/4 inch load that's going to be something in the shot size of 7.5, 8, or 9. Some ranges actually have a little bit more stipulations if they have a shorter boundary, such as some skeet ranges that do not allow you to use 7.5 shot. So familiarize yourself with the rules, but 7.5 shot, 8 shot, or 9 shot is permissible on the sporting clay range, skeet range, and trap range at most facilities. We want to make sure, again, 2 3/4 inch only. Historically, shells were often classified as low brass and high brass. High brass shells were used for hunting, and low brass shells were used for clay target shooting. So by old terminology, we'd be using low brass shells for clay target shooting. The terminology doesn't really hold true today, but it's commonly used as well out on the range by people that have referred to those terminologies over time. So in summary, on the shotgun shells and the size, 2 3/4 inch, 7.5, 8, or 9 shot. Absolutely no buckshot, no slugs, nothing with giant sizes of 6 or bigger. The number one reason why this matters is obviously for safety, but when we're using a bigger pellet, if someone happened to take out there a buckshot or a slug, or even a big pellet for goose hunting or duck hunting, that pellet can travel farther. If that pellet travel farther, the design of the clay target course is such that it could reach the other side of the course, it could reach the clubhouse, and it could hurt someone. So again, 7.5, 8s, and 9 shot do not travel far enough to present a problem, and they're within the parameters of what most clay target ranges expect you to be using. We'll take a step further and we'll talk about some other things that people commonly don't talk about that are very important. Absolutely no use of drug or alcohol prior to shooting or out on the range. Seems like common sense, but it's often something that's just overlooked or not mentioned. So before you head out to the range to do sporting clay shooting, skeet shooting, trap shooting, absolutely no use of drug or alcohol. Some other things. If you got out on the range, you're shooting clay targets, you get to a facility, you get out on the first station and something's not working. You push the button and the target does not launch. Or you're on the trap field or the skeet field and the target does not launch. The clay target machine, often called a trap or a clay target launcher, is a mechanical operation and spring-loaded. Do not in any way, shape, or form get out there and try to fix that yourself. If that thing goes off accidentally or you're standing in front of it and someone pushes the button, it could be catastrophic disaster. You could break an arm, a limb, and if it hit you in the head, it could actually kill you. Summing up, trap machines, clay target throwers. They can be very dangerous. They're only to be fixed by a professional. If something is not working, please ring the office, ring the clubhouse, and they'll send someone out to fix it. Just skip the station. Missing one station and picking up some other stations is no problem. It's not going to change your day. Some other few things that we want to talk about. Absolutely at the station, do not ever walk in front of the cage. So if you're standing here shooting, you're waiting your turn, or you're going to the next station, don't take a shortcut that ever puts you in front of the line of the cage. We don't want to be, that puts us essentially down range and in line of fire. When you're out on the sporting clay course and you're walking through along those same lines, don't get off the trail. The trail is there for a reason. It's for you to travel on safely. The courses are designed so that the shot fall and the point of which the guns are shooting, if you stay on the trail, you're going to be safe. If you cut off into the woods or you take a bypass or a shortcut, you can be potentially putting yourself in harm's way. Overall, all of these little things matter, from paying attention to where you are on the course, not crossing the trail, not fixing trap machines, obviously no use of drugs or alcohol, and understanding proper shot shells regarding the size of the shot and the payload that you're sending downrange. Now we're going to talk a little bit how to properly get in and out of the cage and the formalities of what should take place. Quite often you're going to be shooting with a group. It could be just you and a friend, could be a group of friends. When you get to the station, you're going to take turns. You're going to rotate only one shooter shooting at a time. We've went through the use of shot shells, and you're only loading the number of shot shells that you're shooting for that pair. So it's a double, you load 2. If you shoot a single, you load 1. When you get out of the cage, the gun is always empty, unloaded. When you take the gun out of the rack, there's some ways that we have to handle ourselves to step away from the group or step away from people to get in and out. Often people load the gun as they're getting ready. Huge mistake, completely against the rules. At a lot of ranges, they have a no tolerance policy. If you load the gun prior to being over the front rail of the cage and you're caught doing that, you're going to be off the course and potentially you're not going to be able to come back. The ranges are there to provide enjoyment, and safety is utmost importance for everyone's enjoyment. So let's take a look at how we're going to step into the cage, how we're going to open the gun to load the gun and get out of the cage with the gun and the action open. When I step into the sporting clay cage, often people start putting the shells in right here. The problem is I have to go over this rail. Okay, it can be very problematic because then I would have to, if I close the gun, I would have to turn it downrange and potentially point at someone. We're never going to do this. This is what we're not going to do. So we step in, we have the gun open. We simply raise our hand, we go over the top rail. Or as you're walking in, just simply raise the gun over the top rail. The action is open. You're going to drop 1 shell in if you're shooting a single. You're going to drop 2 shells in if you're shooting a pair. You're going to close the gun and you'll get ready to shoot and call for the birds. You've shot any number of targets in the cage that the menu suggests or that you feel comfortable with if you're practicing. When you're done, you've unloaded the gun. You make sure the gun is broke open. You can check and look down the barrel, make sure the action is clear by looking from the top side here. As you step in, I often put the gun over my shoulder as I'm going out. When I turn now, my barrel's pointing down. I can come back, gonna put the gun into the rack, step to a safe direction, holding the barrel straight up, not crossing the barrel with anyone, going into the rack. The semi-automatic shotgun, going to follow the same common logic, the same procedures, but it's a little bit different. Again, the action is open. It was in the rack, okay? As we step in, I'm coming in. We do not want to have the gun pointed down, then load up and get stuck on behind the rail. The gun never gets loaded until you're over the front rail. You'll put a shell in, you close the action, your second shell goes into the bottom. When you get done shooting, the last shot should leave the action open. Occasionally though, if you had a light load, the action could be closed. Before you step out of this cage, you check this action. Right now, the gun is unloaded, but the action is closed. We're not stepping out of the cage this way. We're gonna hit the button on the bottom, open the action. As I come out of the cage with a semi-automatic shotgun, I'm generally just going straight up, holding the gun near my shoulder here, turn. I do not want to turn, swing like this because there's people behind me. I'm going to have the gun straight up, turn, going directly into the rack. In summary of carrying the gun's never pointed at everyone. You're going to position yourself as such that you close and open the gun in the cage over the front rail. Before you get out of the gun, the action is open, whether you have a side-by-side, semi-auto, pump, whatever you're shooting, that you never get out of this cage without the action open. You never load the gun until the gun is over the front rail when you're in the cage ready to shoot. There's only one person loaded at a time. You're only loading the number of shells that you need to shoot. We went through a lot of safety procedures. There's a lot of things that are important. Most of these are common sense. Remember, the absolute most important rule is the gun is never pointed at anyone. If any of these safety features and checklists failed, if the gun is not pointing at anyone, that's the ultimate rule that keeps everyone safe. In summary of our safety video, all of these things we went over are very important to have an enjoyable and safe time out on the range. Lots of them are simple formalities, simple things that we've taught you. Other things are just simple common logic to go along with those simple formalities. One thing that is very important is ask questions. If you're out there on the range and you had a question, ask a group around you, ask someone that you think is more experienced, or simply when you're at the clubhouse or you're checking in, ask any procedures and policies that they want you to follow that you're not certain of. It's never a dumb question when it regards safety. We want you to go above and beyond. We want you to follow the procedures, and we want you to pay attention to all the things in this video to have a safe and enjoyable time out on the range. If you'd like to learn more about clay shooting and the instruction and videos that we provide, visit claytargetinstruction.com.